Hi, this is Danielle, and I'll be going over some of our low to mid up to high fidelity prototypes, and I'm with Energy for All, and so I'm going to be going over a little bit about what we worked on and how we kind of worked through a lot of our ideologies in designing our system. And this is for i370 for our final poster and Zion booth and all of those materials. So let me navigate on this side so I have a little bit more room. Okay, so when we started actually designing our system, we played around a little bit back and forth with deciding whether we wanted it to be a mobile application or a computer. And so or a website. And so some of the logic behind that was just that most people while some people do tend to have access to computers due to library access, if they have a library in their area, depending on if they're in a lower income neighborhood and they're experiencing things such as food deserts, maybe a lack of closeness to educational resources and things like that, libraries are some of the most common centers for being able to access technology. And on the other hand, however, we do figure that even if some people are lacking resources to be able to have technology and internet resources in their own home. Most people do tend to have some type of cellular device. And if it's some type of Apple product, we did plan out the mobile design that way. If somebody has some type of Android, we kind of figured that would have to be a separate iteration for that. But for the sake of our system, we decided to go the the iOS mobile route, excuse me, the iOS mobile route, and so that's what we've planned for. So, in the first stages of our application, as you'll see here, we did start off with a colors palette, and something that I've used in other game design courses, for example. I've been able to use this website called Coolers. Side note, it's a really great website if you're trying to generate color palettes or extract colors from your own personal palettes and maybe use them in Adobe for whatever reason. So, this is the color palette that I went with. I wanted to get something that was more neutral, something that was more pastel and friendly, while still emulating some of those earth tones. So if you'll notice, we have shades of green, shades of brown, and then a neutral white, just because it's always nice to have some filler, quote unquote, filler color in there, whether that be black or some type of eggshell, cream, something or other to kind of break up the monotony of the colorfulness of the other palette colors. So as you'll see here, we start off with Energize, which is the name of our application. We felt that that was a good mix, a good mix to go into Energy for All, being our group name. So we have options for signing up, logging in, continuing without sign up, and things of that nature. And these are some of the original sign up and login screens that we have. Excuse me. Moving forward, a lot of the original inspiration actually for the way the articles are laid out is what I actually did is I went through the app store and looked at popular news article sites. So for example, I checked out Forbes and some of their website design and how they've done some of their atomic systems. And my favorite one, so example Forbes, BBC, and I also looked at some other educational sites. For example, Tesla is a really good site for figuring out how to get renewable energy products and resources into your home and things like that. So the site and the mobile application that I actually liked best was BBC's The World News application, and in that they have a mega menu atop that actually doubles as a side scroller, and from there they have a great their informational architecture is really nice and it's pretty easy to navigate, and so we emulated that in a lot of our designing. So, for example, going through the Energize screen, you'll find here that these little tabs on the side that you'll see that I'm highlighting over with my mouse in the left corner of each of these navigation cards. These are actually intended for either topics or whatever developers might want to put there as like a notch to differentiate articles from one another. And as you scroll down, we have some events for topics of the day and things of that nature. And at the very end, I thought a little cute tidbit could be adding in a sustainable fact of the day. So, a sustainable fact that we gathered was, for example, there have been 377 climate disasters since 1980. And we got all of these, we got sources from BBC World News as well. The mentality is pretty similar with our article titles. We have in the corner icons for the user and things of that nature. I'll zoom in a bit so we can see. Um, so as you're going through here, we have the articles, article titles. This was some of the original ideation that we had. We were wondering if we should have, for example, the articles page. If you're scrolling down and clicking on an article here or working with the mega menu, if you should be able to just have the kind of a duplicate page here, or if it should be something different. So that was something that we kind of had to discuss a little bit, moving from a mid to low fidelity prototype, moving into a higher one. Lastly, we have our topics, more of our articles down here. So we kind of played around with, all right, so we have some titles for some of these nav cards down here. How do we want these to act? How do we want them to connect to one another? What do we want the differentiation to be? These were all questions that we had in working with our prototypes. But what we really were able to make concrete here is having our color palettes decided, having the flow of navigation was something we decided on too. And then finally, we were pretty pleased with some of the aesthetic. It was just kind of up to figuring out how to make this more pleasing to the eye in a professional manner. So moving into our high fidelity, let me make sure you can see that. Oh, perfect. All right. So this is our high fidelity prototype. So again, I won't go through the beginning sign up and login because that was pretty similar. However, this is what we've worked with. So this is the Energize screen. So this will be the home page that you'll kind of get navigated to. The reason I'm going through it this way as opposed to the main prototype way, so that way you can get a better feel of maybe some of the nitty gritty parts of it. Excuse me. So what we ended up doing is instead of having these little notches in the left corner of the nav cards be correlated to the topic, we actually had them correspond with the date. And it can just be intuitive that these are for the current year. And these will be updated regularly by development and things like that, and people working on those teams. And then, for example, we have these larger nav cards that will display a topic of the day, where you can look at some more of these topics and see, for example, wind energy, carbon footprint, hydroelectric, things like that. And then you'll have a little notch where you can explore more topics. Okay. So this is an article title, and this is an article, and then below that on these cards, we have a system where you can find related articles and then related topics and go from there. And lastly, this is what, if you are navigating to the topics and or articles screen, where it will take you. So you'll see here for topics, these are some of the main topics that we actually got from our optimal workshop. These were a lot of the cards that people had the most questions with in our co-design session. What we actually did is, as part of one of our activities, we asked people, about common buzzwords and asked for their understanding of it. If they can give it back to us in layman's terms, we really wanted to see where people were coming from. And so these were some popular kind of buzzwords or terms that are discussed most often when talking about renewable energy and resources. So we wanted to make sure that people could get to them right away and then find related articles to those topics when they're able to look at a specific thing and a specific buzzword. So we felt that with Energize being a one-stop shop for a lot of informational resources, we wanted to make sure that we were using both concise yet non-leading language and things like that. So this is how we came up with a lot of our naming systems here. And then these are just some proposed articles, things that people might find of interest. And the colors will respond to topics. Here's another proposed screen, for example, solar energy with some base. So for example, if you are going to solar energy from topics, you can see some of the basic information. You can find the related articles by clicking on them. I'll take you to one of these articles. And you can also find related topics. And so that's really what we were going for. I think moving forward, some things that we talked about that we liked and disliked about a lot of the work that we did so far. We were all really fond of the color scheme and the mobile application as our vehicle, I will say, to get our system across. We were all really excited to do our topic and things like that. I think in terms of things that we thought we could do better or things that we wanted to critique on moving forward in the future, we wanted to work more with some iOS kits, maybe see some more examples of iOS applications and how UX researchers and software engineers are and developers are handling some of the aesthetics, just because we had a lot of ideas in our heads of how we wanted things to look. However, in the actual implementation phase of a lot of that, we all had very different ideas, and it took a lot of studying to figure out how things should work, what that flow should look like. And so I think going forward, we'll probably all maybe do some more research into how those things are actually implemented. I know with iOS kits, Swift is a really popular means of developing for iOS. And we also all talked about kind of keeping up with our research methods and maybe finding even more ways to iterate on this in the future for our project. And yes, that is Energize, and that is Energy for All. Thank you so much.